Welcome to another episode of It's a Long Road, the Rambo series podcast. I am your host, Ryan, and with me today I have a special guest. I was going to say very special guest, but that might not be true. You might not be very special. Well, you're special because you're on my special podcast. Anyways, I'm talking all over the place. Dan from the
RetroSpectors, yep.
Okay, RetroSpectors YouTube channel. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be here. I've been watching your show for the past maybe like about 3-4 weeks, and I just can't believe that there's someone out there that has a whole YouTube channel dedicated to Rambo and Rocky, and I mean, I'm a big fan.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. The fact that anyone watches my show, I'm always surprised that anyone does watch the show. So thank you, Dan. Yeah. So you said you've only been watching for a few weeks. So how did you stumble? I'm just kind of curious. Because I'm just a small potato podcast YouTube channel. How did you discover the Rambo podcast?
You did an episode with James Rolfe as a guest, and I've been watching him since like 2006. So he has the whole Angry Video Game Nerd show. So that's how I stumbled upon it. And I was like, oh, I know that, James, he loves Rambo and Rocky. And like, oh, there's a Rambo podcast. Like, how have I not heard about this before? And I discovered your Rambo YouTube first. And then I was, I watched some episodes, and then I discovered the Discord. And then that's when I discovered there's a Rocky one. So I'm subscribed to both channels.
Wow.
And yeah.
That's the algorithm that I'm always hoping for. So I've got one person found the algorithm.
Oh yeah, you got to game that algorithm.
Oh man. Well, no, I appreciate it. No, it's really fun. So of course, Dan's speaking about the One More Round podcast that I do, based on the Rocky series with my always hosts, Katie and Kyle, that show. The reason why Dan is on this episode is because on the Rambo one, what I wanted to do for those who might be listening to this episode for the first time, because of Dan, I'm sure there'll be people that are going to come listen because of you. I have rotating guest hosts. I kind of wanted with the Rambo one, I want to have different voices, different people from different projects and backgrounds come on and share their stories of Rambo, of the Rambo franchise, of Sly and their fandom. Now, before we get into Rambo, of course, I do want to talk about James Rolfe a little bit, because I went to your channel, of course, to make sure you're not... I had to make sure that you don't sound like a moron. I invited you on. It was me that invited you on, but it's like, okay, so this guy commented on my podcast, which was really cool. I saw that you had your own YouTube channel, so I want to see what he does. First, let's talk about what is it you do on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's mostly just retro video games, mostly Sega. I play a lot of Sega Saturn and Sega Dreamcast, and thanks to like a bunch of hackers and geniuses on the internet, they managed to like revive the online functionality of these old systems. So you can actually play these old games on the original hardware online. That's what I do. I make videos based on that because there's not a lot of exposure on YouTube of people playing Sega Dreamcast online multiplayer or anything like that.
You took words out of my mouth because I saw your latest video and you're doing this online, I guess like the Decathlon Sega game. And you're playing online. It's like, is he playing online against another person on the Sega CD? What was the Sega CD?
Sega Saturn.
Sega Saturn. So you were using the hardware, and I had a Sega.
Yep.
I'm a Sega boy, so I'm 17 years older than you. So keep in mind when when I was 17, I was almost not playing video games anymore because that's what kids do. That was back in the day.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I was a Sega kid. I had the Sega Master. I mean, I bought everything. I bought every system until Sega stopped making consoles. I was that guy. And then, but I never knew that there would be like when you own a 69 Ford Mustang in 1969, you never thought at the time that people were going to think this is a classic car, so to speak.
Exactly.
So I was one of those guys who owned the Sega, sold the old one, bought the new one, sold the old one, bought the new one. So I never kept any of them. So I never kept any of them, not knowing there'd be some sort of YouTube or any kind of algorithms or channels that people would create these games on or memory lane on. But anyways, I love Sega. I'm a Sega boy.
There's little tiny communities out there, little pockets, little Discords you can find. There's people that play all kinds of any retro video game system. There is a Discord out there with a diehard fan base for it. So,
speaking of Discord, there's a diehard fan base for Rocky and Rambo by Discord. So it's fun. Discord is a great software, free and great for nerds, I guess. Yeah. So my first Sega game, that long-term role-playing game that I finished was Phantasy Star. I don't know if you ever played Phantasy Star or heard of it.
We've made videos on Phantasy Star. Yeah, I love that game. You're talking about the Master System version?
Oh yeah, the 8 megabit.
Oh my god. Yeah. I can't believe you played. So you played that game back when it was relevant.
Okay, I bought it for $99 in 1988. I think.
Yeah, it was a very expensive game. It was like the biggest game at the time. It was bigger than Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah, that I gotta ask you. Did you beat that game back in the day?
Okay, you want to hear a story? This is a true
Yeah,
story.
I would love to hear a story.
Okay, so I was a video game nerd, again, a Sega nerd, and of course this was back in the day, no internet, just magazines. So I had gaming magazines. I would go and I would buy gaming magazines every week, every month, whenever they came out. I had a variety of different ones. I forget the titles of them, Sega, whatever. They showed, of course, in the magazine a picture of this upcoming game called Phantasy Star, based on a role-playing game. They showed the picture of the sandworm coming out of the 13-year-old kid's eyes in 1988. It looked like I was watching a virtual reality. Like, I said, the graphics, it looks so real. I was like, I'm getting this game. Off that one screenshot of just this worm-looking creature coming out of the sand, I knew I had to buy this game. Lo and behold, I bought it. Mom, plug your ears. I skipped school in 8th grade. Skipped school to finish this game. I was playing it endless hours. Now, I got to the part of the game at the end where you had to plant a seed. I think the cat's name creature was Mayu or something. M-Y.
Yep.
Okay. And you had to plant the seed, whatever that seed was, to get up to the Cloud City. I couldn't find where to plant this thing. I would go all over the place. Can't plant here, can't plant here, can't plant here. Now, listen up, kids. There was no internet. So all I had was this gaming magazine that I subscribed to. So I wrote to the gaming magazine, to Sega, whatever, hoping that A, they would get my letter, B, that they would answer my letter in the magazine. So 1 month goes by, my letter's not in the back. 2 months go by, my answer to my question's on the back. So I'm waiting so the third month goes by, finally, they actually answered, hey, Ryan, here you go, this is where you plant the seed. I waited 3 months to find out where it was. So we planted the seed, I finished the game, died numerous times on the end boss, finished it. I see if I can find it, but I actually took a film photograph picture of the final screenshot to prove that I finished the game. And I also sent that into the magazine because back then you would send in your pictures to prove to the gaming companies that you finished their game.
Yeah, I was too young for that time. But I mean, the fact that you beat that game without any internet is insane. I mean, you must have wandered around aimlessly not knowing where to go next.
No game guides, no quest markers, there's no dungeon markers. I think the dungeons were random generated too. I wonder what the hours were. Hundreds of hours spent. Hundreds.
Had to have been. That's such a good story, though. I'm glad you shared it. I had no idea. It's such a coincidence.
Now it's like, oh yeah, I'm stuck on this zone or this level. They got guys like you giving me a walkthrough. But when I was 13 years old in 1988, there was no walkthroughs, man. It was literally, those were the dog days of video games. You just had to pound through and keep trying and trying and trying.
Did you play the games on Genesis? Phantasy Star 2 and 3 and 4?
I finished them all. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
oh, wow. That's awesome.
I never got into Phantasy Star Online because once I became an adult, so to speak.
Right.
I just got busy with life, jobs, work, kids. I have a family. I had a family young, and I still play video games. I love them. In fact, I just bought a couple on Steam today with their sales. But I'm more of a single player again. I still play games like Fallout, Witcher 3. I'm still that single player. I can't play online games because every time I do, I get destroyed. So I just casual gaming by myself, no pressure, no joining a party or group. Just, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You'll be versing like all the little kids out there that just play the game all day, and you don't stand a chance against them.
My kids are phoning people. They go play. What is it? That new one or sort of Fortnite. They're on there destroying people, and I'm like, I guarantee you, some poor 20-odd-year-old that probably doesn't want to know they just got killed by my 8-year-old son.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They just came home from work. They want to relax, and they're getting their ass kicked by a 7-year-old.
So on your channel, it's Sega focused?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I'm not opposed to making Nintendo game videos or anything like that, but that Sega just happens to be what I'm really into.
That's cool.
At the most. And I got one more question, one more video game question. Cool. Did you play Rambo 3 on the Genesis?
Dude, every Stallone game there was, I played it. Absolutely. Every Stallone.
I had that game too, yeah.
Nice. And I had the Rocky game for the Sega. I think it was just the Sega Master System was the Rocky game. And you only fought 4 people. It was literally Apollo. Yep. Was it just 3 maybe? I know the last guy was Drago. Maybe it was just, literally it was just 3 people. I think it was just the 3.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. It was just 3, yeah.
And Drago was near impossible. But again, hundreds of hours and you finally just do it. It's like, and you had like mixed training. You had to hit the speed bag or whatever it was. So stiff.
Yep.
Yeah, anything Sly related, I would own. Videos, video games, magazines, yeah.
Nice, dude. That's awesome.
Check out Dan's YouTube channel. I'll put that in the show notes if you're a video game nerd. And one last thing before we go into the Rambo and Sly fandom. Yeah, you mentioned James Rolfe, so how did you know that he was on my show? I'm just curious, how did you get word of that?
So there's a Cinemassacre subreddit. James has like a subreddit dedicated to him, and somebody posted the video on the subreddit, and I just saw it on my Reddit feed, and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I just clicked on it, and that was it.
You know him as the character and personality, so to speak.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I like the format in general. Like you just talk a little bit, you watch a clip, you dissect the clip. I remember you said that you discovered him because he did the Rocky Jump the Park Bench.
Yeah, I didn't know
video.
who he was. I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, he probably doesn't get that very often.
Yeah, he might have liked it. Yeah, I've had him twice on the show. I've had him on the Rocky podcast back then. I mentioned that episode back when I didn't even know how to do YouTube videos or whatever. It was a horrible interview. I almost want to re-edit it, like redux it, because it's just, I think it's okay, but I look back at it, it's kind of cringe to watch. I don't know if you ever feel that way about some of your early videos.
I watched that old Rocky video with James. Yeah, I went back and I did a deep dive on your channels, and it was fine.
It was fine?
That's just the thing. Sometimes you watch your own videos and you think it's cringe, but it's fine.
Okay. I appreciate it. You're too kind, boy. Now, however, I just watched your episode about his 10 worst videos. How did you get all that? Like, how did you know his videos enough to even come up with the top 10 worst list?
What happened was when I was in middle school in like 2003, 2004, 2005, Jesus. I was collecting retro systems. Like I grew up as a Nintendo kid, but I got a Sega Genesis in 6th grade in 2003. And I got Rambo 3 was one of the first games I got. Phantasy Star, Sonic games.
Nice.
And so I was collecting retro video game systems between 2003 and 2005. So when Angry Video Game Nerd came out in 2006, I was like, oh, wow, like there's someone else that cares about retro video games. So
okay. Yeah.
It was a big deal to me, and I just stuck with him. I've been a big fan ever since. And I mean, I don't want to talk too bad about him here, but it's just not the same. And you can't make a top 10 worst videos on something unless you're like a big fan.
Okay.
So
fair.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the James, not the hate's not the right word, because he was very kind and gracious to me as a guest. However, it's still kind of fascinating to read some of the stuff I read on Reddit regarding I don't know what it is, there's some toxic fandom, I guess you could say, regarding the Angry Video Game Nerd. People were commenting even on my video on YouTube. I was like, what are you guys talking about?
Those comments, yeah.
I was like, I don't even know what you're saying. Like, ask him about this or ask him about that, or I don't even know what you're talking about. And people are like, don't worry about it. But it's a whole thing. And I think one of the criticism was, and I saw it in your videos, it wasn't criticism per se, but you're saying some of the videos that weren't that great were because he wasn't writing them anymore. It sounds like he might have outsourced some of his content, so to speak, to other creators or writers. To kind of not defense of that, but I actually did ask him about editing. I mean, if you remember in the video, like
I do remember that. Yeah,
like who do you get to edit your stuff? Because once you give it to somebody else, they're going to. How do you know what jokes land? Or because I edit my own stuff, one, because I can't afford an editor, but two, because there's things that I don't like, things that I'll cringe about, like, oh, that joke didn't land or whatever it might be. So I want to take stuff out. Like, I want to have complete control. So I guess he sort of has outsourced some things. He didn't say that in my interview, but I already kind of knew that criticism. So I didn't want to lead him to that discussion, but I was kind of asking him, in a roundabout way, how do you...
Yeah, you were poking a little bit when you asked them that.
Yeah, I was. I didn't want to blindside him, but I also was just curious about how he finds the time to kind of do everything. So I think his empire, so to speak, has just gotten big enough where he can do that. It's a brand now, and there's no shame in that. And he's kind of like the CEO of the brand, and so he outsourced stuff. So I don't know if that's really a criticism so much as maybe old-time fans might feel cheated, I guess, because it's not all his voice.
You said it perfectly. I mean, from my perspective, when you watch his old videos and you watch the new videos, I mean, there's a big disconnect. And but again, you're right though. I mean, I kind of don't blame him either. I mean, he's got kids, he's got a family. I mean, how can you do the same thing for 20 years? And I mean, he's making money. I mean, he's checked out, but he can keep doing it because it doesn't matter if the quality declines. He can still get paid.
Sure. There's no shame in that, and I get it. It's like think of one of your favorite bands that might have been around for 30, 40 years. At some point, they're just playing their greatest hits. The old fans are like, come on, man, play something different.
Exactly.
Play the deep cuts, man. I've been a fan for 35 years. And you're like, well, the band's like, dude, just be happy we're playing anything. We've checked out. The creative juices are gone. That goes for every artist. So I think James is just human. I think the creative juices, at some point, they deplete. You're just... Yeah.
Same thing with famous actors and actresses. Maybe like there was a point in their career where they picked every role and they were very passionate, but now they just take roles to like get a paycheck. Sure. It's the same thing.
Well, I'm still in the hungry phase. I'm not getting paid for this garbage, I'll tell you that. This is totally a hobby for me. I've never... Yeah, I do this as a hobby. I have a job. I pays the bills and pays the mortgage, but this is my hobby. Okay. So, Dan, how did you... I mean, you're 30 years old. Okay, so like I said, in video games and even pop culture years, you're like 100 years behind me. So how did you come across Sly and Rambo and Rocky? Because, again, in 1990, how old were you?
I was born in 92.
So 1990, Rocky V comes out. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, so you're 2 years away from existing, and I'm seeing Rocky V in the theaters as a 15-year-old, already kind of long in the tooth with the Rocky series. So how does somebody like you kind of become a fan of Rocky and Rambo?
Around the year 2000, that's when we rented First Blood. The scene when Rambo's getting shaven and he gets like a flashback to like getting cut in the chest, like to me, I never saw anything like that. And that was really, I mean, at the time for me, like that was really gory. And also the fact that the cop was the bad guy, that whole dynamic of like bad cops didn't exist to me yet in my 8-year-old brain. When he like goes to live in the wilderness and he's taking them out one by one, but he's not killing them. And I remember when I was a kid, I wanted him to kill them because I was just so on Rambo's side all the way. I really enjoyed First Blood. And basically it was Rambo 2 when we rented First Blood Part 2. That's when I was like, wow, like this is, as an adult, I have so much to say about Rambo 2, but I know that as a kid, I was just thinking like, oh, so this is what they were talking about. Like he's a green. I didn't know what a Green Beret was. I didn't know about like Vietnam, the Vietnam War. I didn't know anything about that. So, but I did put 2 and 2 together. Like, oh, okay, so like this is who he is. He is a killing machine. I loved Rambo 2 and then Rambo 3, which as an adult, I can say Rambo 3 is like my second least favorite after Rambo 5 being my least favorite. But as a kid, Rambo 3 was my number 1 favorite. I loved Rambo 3. I loved how it was just action all the time. And it's a little campy.
Sure.
There's some comedy in Rambo 3.
It's the comedy film. It's the funny Rambo.
Yeah, it's a movie. Honestly, Rambo 3, like, it kind of has no good reason to exist. It's a blockbuster movie. It's a money-making movie, Rambo 1 and 2, they have a good reason to exist. I think some people actually dismiss Rambo 2. They say, oh yeah, First Blood's the good one, and then it got stupid. And it's like, I don't think that. I think Rambo 1 and 2 are fine, and Rambo 3 is the one where it got kind of, a little unnecessary. But I did see Rambo 4 in theaters. I was there for that.
Nice. So how old were you? That would have been 2008.
I was 15. Yeah, I was 15 years old.
Did your dad have to take it? Because that was pretty hard R at the time there.
Oh, yeah, he took me. Nice. We went together.
Yeah, good man. Good man, your father. So we can thank your dad for renting the movies, taking you to Rambo. I would assume he's the one that got you to watch that stuff. Yeah,
basically, yeah. And he was the one that he used to always tell me to watch Rocky, and I would put it off. And then it wasn't until like maybe 2004 when I was like 12, that's when I saw Rocky 1, and then I watched all 5 of them in like a weekend.
Nice. That's actually a good age. I think Rambo you can kind of get away with. I've showed my sons, and my daughter, I guess I should exclude her, but my boys in particular, they love the Rambo character. But I showed them at 8. 8 was when I started showing them. But I actually kind of wait for Rocky for a later age for the same reason, because it's drama-driven, right? It's a
little more mature, yeah, for sure.
Whereas Rambo is kind of eye candy, especially 2 and 3 are very much just eye candy for kids. 4, I do wait for them to be a little bit older because it is quite violent.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite dark. It is actually quite brutal and dark. I'm looking for.
I love Rambo 4 so much. Yeah.
Oh well, maybe we'll get you back on. Though the Rambo 4 season is really building for people wanting to guest host on that one.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, there's just so much to say about that one.
And it's not a very long film. It's like 80 minutes.
It's a good runtime. It's perfect. It's a perfect runtime.
Okay, well, this is where you and I might disagree if we have you on. We'll save it for Rambo, for that discussion for season 4, because I have some thoughts on the runtime, but that'd be a good discussion for that season. Okay. Oh, yeah, so great. So awesome. So that's how you discovered this podcast. It's really cool to have you on. I love always talking to other creators. It's always been my goal with the Rambo podcast was to talk to other creators in general.
Oh, well, I'm glad I'm doing an okay job, because this is my first time doing a podcast at all.
Well, your YouTube channel is a podcast, really, in the sense of you're describing something and you're sharing it and you're putting yourself out there.
That's true. I guess so. Yeah, it's like a vlog, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is your first podcast. Okay, fair enough. Oh, wow. All right. Well, so far so good. I won't kick you off yet. You're fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, all right. Okay, now with all that, what we're going to do is we're going to watch some sequences from the film, talk about what we just saw. Oh, I should have asked you, when's the last time you saw this film?
Rambo 3, like about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Oh, man, I'm glad you chose this scene because I have a lot to say about this part.
Oh, really? Okay, great.
Yeah.
For those who are listening, I forget this guy's name, but the guy played by Kurt, what's his name? Kurt? Oh, I had it last episode because I saw it in the credits. Anyways, the guy that was in the 70s show in RoboCop. Remember him in RoboCop, this actor?
I remember his name is Red in the 70s show,
there
right?
We go. Okay, I never watched that show. I've seen it, but I never watched it, if that makes sense. So yeah, like, I know Ashton Kutcher was in it, Mila Kunis, and
right.
Kurtwood Smith, that's his name, Kurtwood Smith. I think it just came to me. Okay. So anyways, he's got a great voice. He's also great in RoboCop. Troutman's asked Rambo, hey, come join me on this mission. And Rambo's like, no thanks. So Rambo walks away. What was your overall thoughts on the stick fighting sequence at the beginning of the film?
The only part that really sticks out to me is the fact that after the fight is over, Rambo sticks his hand out to kind of like help him up, just kind of show that Rambo, he has no hard feelings, Rambo doesn't hate. Why would Rambo hate this guy? It's just a sport. And then he takes the money and then he gives the money to like some kids, I think, or
yeah,
he takes his winnings and gives it away.
Yeah, right. He's a hero.
And just to show you that Rambo's a good guy.
Yeah. And I love the sequence here. So Rambo is now back, I guess, at his hut or his place that he lives. This looks like a pretty good sized room, actually. I love how he picks up a stick, and of course this is Sly, but this is Sly showing off that he's got some sort of stick skills. He's twirling the stick in his hand. I think it's to indicate that the Rambo character, he's always practicing. He's practicing his stick movements as he's pondering what to do in this situation. And I just think it's a funny little nod. You know how Rocky always does like his little shadow punches when he walks down?
Yeah.
This is Rambo doing his little shadow, like, I'm still practicing my stick skills, even as I'm deep in thought about this mission proposal.
Don't be down on him. Just following orders. This mission's important, John.
Do you really think we're going to make a difference?
If I didn't, I wouldn't be going.
It didn't before.
That was another time. Come with me, John.
I don't know what you think about this place, but I like it. I like being here. I like working here. I like belonging to something.
You do belong to something, not this.
When I was a kid, I didn't recognize this problem, but, as an adult, I think it's kind of messed up that Troutman's even here at all, even trying to take him away from this peaceful place. Like, oh, yeah, you do belong to something. You got to get out there and then leave Rambo alone, man. Like, he's been through enough. Like, you're trying to recruit him to do this. You're trying to talk him into this.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So, yeah, the first film, of course, Rambo at the end of the film is literally breaking down to this man saying, I can find his legs. I can find his legs. He's talking about the trauma of having his buddy blown up in front of him with his legs and insides everywhere. He's literally trying to put his friend back together again, right? Mm-hmm. And then in part two, he's, I want what they want. And he's talking about that journey. I just want what everyone wants. And Trump like, what are you going to go? What are you going to do? Just live day by day. I don't want to go back to you. I don't want the medal. Give it to them. They're the heroes. And I love how Trump, he's been assigned this mission to go attack this Russian terrible leader, whatever, Russian leader. Trump was like, you know what? My team kind of sucks. You know what it needs? It needs Rambo. So he goes to like the most peaceful religious place in the world. They're all Buddhists, I believe, right? Aren't they all Buddhists there?
Something probably, yeah.
Right. It's like the religion of peace. Now, I do remember David Morrell, the author. I don't know if you heard my interview that I did with David.
I did see your first episode.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, David, he made it known, at least in the books, that Rambo is of a religion that he is converted to Buddhism. So he's definitely a man of peace. So if he's here right now, he is all for. He's let this war go. So you're absolutely right. Yeah. He does not want anything to do with war. He's wearing it looks like a ceremonial garb of some sort. And of course, he still has Coe's necklace around his neck. Do you see that there?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he's still got the love of Coe around his neck. And his mullet is looking really nice too. So, yeah.
Yeah, his hair got long in this one. Like, it's pretty obvious if you do like a marathon and you watch like 1, 2, and 3, like his hair just keeps getting longer.
Well, speaking of 5, you said 5 was your least favorite. I think I brought this up and you might have already heard it.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. Oh yeah, it's a big problem.
Do you think you would have liked it more? Honestly, do you think there's a part of you that would have enjoyed part 5 more had Sly kept the long hair for part 5?
I think there's a lot of problems with Rambo 5. I don't think that would have saved it, but I would have liked it more. It would have helped. It would have helped for sure. Yeah,
it would have
for
hurt
sure.
The film. It would have hurt the film had he had long.
No way. It would have helped. It would have helped.
Okay, all right. I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to stand by the Rambo 5 failed because of the hair. I'm standing by that.
Okay.
When are you going to come full circle?
What are you talking about?
You said that your war is over. Now, maybe the one out there is, but not the one inside you. I know the reasons you're here, John, but it doesn't work that way. You may try, but you can't get away from what you really are.
This is like the opposite of mental health help. Can you imagine can you imagine if you were a veteran and you're going to a counselor for mental health and the counselor is literally telling you, look, I know you have post-traumatic stress disorder, but you need to come full circle. You need to go back out there.
I can't believe it. It's so it's just so odd. I wonder at the time did anybody watching this scene when this movie came out, were they questioning this? Were they also thinking like, this is kind of going against, it's just weird.
It is weird. And I think it's our 2020. Look, I'm in the military myself. I'm in the Navy. So I'm not, of course, I don't have any PTSD. However, I've worked in stressful environments, long hours, all those things. We deploy away from our families, and those things affect your mental health. And it's not post-traumatic stress disorder in the sense of, like shell shock, as they used to say. But when you're away from your family, your creature comforts, and you're just doing the grind day after day for months on end, there is something that happens to your mental health. It's a real thing. And the military is very good. At least the Canadian Navy and the Canadian military in general is at least better. I've been known for almost 20 years. From the time that I joined, I don't even remember mental health even being said like that. So even in the last 20 years, definitely last 10 years, there's been a big push for mental health awareness. And so I was to say in 1980, what I'm getting at is 1988, probably not. Problem with this, though, is the first film was really good at addressing this so early, and especially in film, and the time it's 1982 that they're talking about, look what happened to me. I got a country that doesn't want me. I can't find a job parking cars. He says I messed up inside. I go days without talking to anybody, weeks, months. So he's expressing shell shock for the first time on screen that's never been done before in an army type film. Now we have gone full circle. It's like Troutman's forgetting all the events that have happened in the first film, and he's telling Rambo, you're an animal. You need to be let loose. That's the only way you're going to be happy is to be violent.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's so crazy. And you know what? What is Troutman even doing on the front lines anyway? He's a colonel. Why is he on the ground fighting in Afghanistan? That also doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Why is he leading this mission? It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, because he's the best man for the job. He trained the best.
But what do you think I am?
A full-blooded combat soldier.
Not anymore. I don't want it.
That's too bad, because you're stuck with it. Let me tell you a story, John. There was a sculptor, and he found this stone, a special stone. He dragged it home, and he worked on it for months, until he finally finished it. When he was ready, he showed it to his friends, and they said he had created a great statue. And the sculptor said he hadn't created anything. The statue was always there. He just cleared away the small pieces. We didn't make you this fighting machine. We just chipped away the rough edges.
Okay, so he's contradicting himself. He said, God didn't create Rambo, I did. Remember that in the first film? So which one is it, Troutman?
Yeah.
Who is this guy? This feels like an imposter.
Yeah, exactly. It really does.
Because he admits, we trained him to kill without mercy. He's saying that Rambo always I don't know if that's fair. I don't think that's true. Or Troutman was lying to the sheriff in the first film.
I think, you know what? It's just, hey, Hollywood, let's make some money. That's all it is. Let's make another Rambo movie.
It's just so funny watching this with our awareness of mental health today, of how terrible this does sound. I'm cringing right now. Like, it's actually a really nice story, but that's a story you would use to reverse someone's post-traumatic, saying the war didn't make you this rough stone. It was the war that created this monster in you, but you're not that person. You're the stone from the mountain, but the military destroyed your pureness and your smoothness. We made you this killing creature. You were not, but he's saying to Rambo, you were born a killer. Kill Bill. Remember Kill Bill?
Oh, yeah, of course.
In that big monologue at the end where Bill is telling the bride, your disguise is to be this home wife, but you've always been a killer. Now, that makes sense in that film, the context of that film, but Troutman's kind of trying to say the same thing. He's basically saying, Rambo, you've always been a killer. There's been no indication that he was that way before these films started.
No, not at all.
And he's actually saying, I don't want it. I'm done. The war is over. I'm done. He's actually found some peace. He says, I like it here. When's the last time you heard him say any of those words in these films? That I like something. I'm happy.
He's telling Troutman, leave me alone, basically. But why does why does his face look so different in these shots? Did he get work done on his face? He looks so different than Rambo 2.
How dare you? How dare you? Sly has
It's
a
just
perfectly
these shots.
natural face. How dare you?
Something looks off to me. I don't know.
Well, if you remember in the in Rocky III, which came out in '82, I believe, it was the same year as Rambo 2. Anyway, so Paulie says to Rocky, you got your face all fixed up. That was a nod that Sly did get work done. And so they kind of...
Oh, I missed that line.
Yeah, they addressed it.
I didn't know that.
Because he looks so different. Now, he has no body fat either, and that's why his face is so cut. But here's '88, so this is 6 years after Rocky III. This would also have been 3 years after Rambo 2. Yeah, and Rocky IV. So we mentioned in the first episode that Sly's also much thicker in this film. Like, he's much more thick and bigger. Like, he's much
yeah,
bigger.
he's really beefy in this one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word,
Yeah.
But you're right, Sly has had work done, absolutely. I don't know what, but there's actually some videos out there. You go on YouTube about the changes in his face throughout the years. At least he doesn't look like an alien, like for a 76-year-old man today. Like, he gets away with it just barely, but he's just got to be careful. He doesn't want to look like his mom, right? You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever saw his mom in her late...
I actually have not seen his mom, but I'm scared to now.
I want you to Google afterwards, please.
Okay, I will.
You got to be careful when you start doing plastic surgery. At some point, you kind of have to stop. That's what I like about Clint Eastwood. You just get old. It's okay to be old. Like, just
yeah,
that's okay. Yeah,
for sure.
You're always going to be tearing away at yourself until you come to terms with what you are. Until you come full circle.
Come back to part 1.
I guess I'm not ready yet.
Well, I got to move. Promise me you'll look me up when you get stateside.
I promise. Colonel.
Be careful.
I'm sorry. But it's got to end for me sometime.
Not for 2 more films.
Yeah, 20 years.
So Troutman looks disappointed that, of course, that Rambo's not going to join him. But it was nice enough that he says, look me up when you come stateside. And I believe Rambo when he says, I promise, I will. But I think there's a part of Rambo at that moment where he has no intentions of ever going back to the States.
Not at all. No way. And it's kind of funny. I when he says, I guess I'm not ready yet, it kind of just, what immediately came to my mind is like imagining like a teenage girl and like a couple and a guy and like the boyfriend trying to pressure her to like have sex. And she's like, I'm just not ready yet. Like that's what that just seemed like to me.
That's great. That is a perfect analogy. Yeah. Troutman's the senior in high school and she's the sophomore.
Yeah.
Rambo's not ready for that big day right now. And then he's, when you're ready to get your cherry pop, come look me up. That's what he's saying there.
Literally, that's exactly what just happened.
Oh, that's you're probably the first person to ever say that. That's fantastic. Give these great shots here. I guess this must have been Thailand. These look like authentic buildings. Slides on top of this building. It's a peaceful shot. The music score is flourishing, and he's like, do I have what it takes to be a soldier?
Yeah, is this supposed to show that he is thinking about it?
He's torn. I think at the end of the day, we know that Troutman, and we were poking a little bit of fun at this, but at the end of the day, Troutman is the only person he loves or trusts.
Yeah.
It's his father figure. Again, David Morrell in the books made it very clear that Troutman is Rambo's father in every sense of the word. So this is the one man that, Rambo would die for and go. So he's torn. I think there's a part of him that is torn. I've let daddy down.
Oh yeah. That's a good way to put it.
And I'm kind of being the P word right now by not stepping up to the plate and being a soldier. But at the same time, he also recognizes I'm not that person anymore. He isn't channeling that. It's been some years. He doesn't feel that anger towards an enemy he doesn't know. And that's how he's looking at it too. This is a geopolitical situation that I'm not it's not my war. There's wars going on everywhere. Why am I getting thrown in this one? And I hate the U.S. government, so I don't want to get involved. But it's his dad asking for help, and he's torn about that. More contemplative scenes here.
And he looks so jacked.
Well, I usually flex when I'm meditating and
yeah, right.
Pondering. I love it. Yeah, he's just, we call it the prayer flex. Head down, shoulders out. Okay, so what we're going to watch now, folks, is, of course, we're seeing the mission. We're seeing Troutman. And now this is, I guess, sort of interesting. We're seeing Troutman for the first time in action.
Yeah, a colonel. No less. A colonel.
For our army, I do have a few listeners who are legit in the Army or have been, like from the U.S. Army. So to those who are in the forces or have served in the forces, they know the ranking system better than me, especially for the American military. Let me know what the chances are that a full-birded colonel is that the term? He's a colonel.
There's colonel and there's lieutenant colonel, and colonel's like higher than lieutenant colonel.
So I think they refer to it as a full-birded colonel. I think that's what Sheriff Teasel called him in First Blood.
So, okay.
He was a Korean veteran himself, so he would know. So why would they send a full-birded colonel or whatever to full bird. Thank you, Luis.
Okay, I missed that line.
Yeah. So anyway, let us know in an email or something there, folks, the chances that a full bird colonel would do this kind of mission. Okay, let's see how this mission goes. So we've got some Jeeps here. It's a nighttime exercise, of course, or mission. Cover of darkness. Put the lights on. They go to some sort of gully or ravine. Stop their vehicles. Now it looks like is he with some sort of locals?
They look the part. I mean, even he looked like he had something on him to darken him up a little bit.
Is he wearing Afghan garb? Is that what I'm supposed to?
Yeah, it looked like it.
Was he wearing blackface?
Brown face. Yeah, he was doing something there.
Is that camouflage, or is he trying to look like a local?
I think he was trying to blend in. Yeah.
I think he's truly undercover because he's wearing the garb because there is camo used for your, but I think it was just light enough that I think it was just to make his skin look darker because he's trying to look like a local, I think. I don't think I ever caught that before. But I'm not sure what the purpose is to look like locals, so to speak. So this is a weird mission. So
yeah.
Sand face is what Luis calls it. Okay.
Sand face? Okay, that sounds better, yeah.
Sure. Sand faced. I think he is trying to look darker than what he is. He looks tan for sure.
Yeah.
So, have they indicated what the mission is or how they're supposed to carry this? It just seems like they've driven to this very open area.
Mm-hmm.
And what?
He's staring at this mountain, I guess. I don't know. It's just so ridiculous, the whole thing. It does seem
like odd. Like, this is an odd mission so far. So, they're waiting for someone or waiting for something, but they are literally sitting duck. They're in the open. And there's nothing but high ground around them. We learned this from Obi-Wan Kenobi. You do not want to be on the lower ground in these situations.
No, never.
So we hear a helicopter coming. They're grabbing their weapons.
Take cover! Fire!
Okay. Can you imagine the brief before this mission? Okay, guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to drive our 4 vehicles to an open area.
With our lights on.
With the lights on. And we're going to wait for a big-ass helicopter to come out of nowhere and then yell, take cover.
Yeah. Genius.
Now, I would recommend maybe going on foot at some point in the cover of darkness to whatever point you're going to. It just seems like very odd mission.
See, if Rambo was there, he would have said, wait a minute, guys, this is not a good idea. Let's do this. So let's do this a little differently, I bet.
This is very odd. So this Russian helicopter still looks badass today. This is 1988, but that helicopter is just a badass look to it.
Oh, yeah. It looks like the helicopter from Rambo 2, at the end of Rambo 2. It looks like the same thing.
Same idea, yeah. Now, you mentioned on one of the videos that I did that you never caught that helicopter being hung upside down.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys paused it at the perfect time.
We would never have known, but we saw those cables, and it's like, that's how they did it. They flipped the frame around. That's how they blew it up. Okay, yeah. Because I was like, how did they make that thing look like it blew up in the air? It was pretty good trickery, but nah, that's how they did it. Okay. Yeah, so now these guys, whoever, I can't tell if they're Americans or Afghans, but anyways, they're getting blown to pieces. Trauma shooting back and forth, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You're the hero here.
Well, they're getting blown to shreds.
Drop your weapons and remain where you are.
Classic Russian voice.
You cannot escape.
What, you're out of ammo already?
Yeah.
Attack if you do not run. Drop the weapons. You have no chance of escape. Drop your weapons. Now!
Okay. Probably one of the worst military missions I've ever seen on film. I don't understand the purpose of it. Can someone who's a nerd about these films more than me... Now, I haven't read the book yet. David Morrell did the first 3 films. Of course, he wrote The First Blood, but as we know, he wrote parts 2 and 3 using the script and made his own larger universe. So what I'm going to do is, I'm a little bit behind, but I'm going to have to read his... He might explain what it is in the book, what the mission was supposed to be.
You know what? If they were parked like right outside the fort, then it would have been better. You know, instead they're just out in this mountain area, or there's nothing around. It just makes you so confused.
Yeah, so Trautmann's caught, I guess. The Russians showed mercy. That's nice, I guess.
Yep.
They said, drop your weapons, we won't shoot you. So now he's caught. Now we're going to cut back to Rambo's sanctuary.
Mai chui thao ơi.
He's carrying Yeah, he's speaking the language, helps put the wheel on a cart. I love how he's carrying it by himself, you know. Puts the wheel on this cart.
Oh, yeah. They're very lucky to have him around doing all this heavy lifting.
Something went wrong.
What happened?
Soviets intercepted the team just over the border. From what we've gathered, Trautmann and the rest of his party have been taken to a regional command post.
And what are you doing about it?
We can't do anything about it. I'm sorry. I just thought you should know.
I just thought you should know, since that would move the story along for the movie. Had this guy not come to tell him, Rambo would have assumed the mission went on without a hitch, and he would visit Trautmann later in the States if he ever decided to go there. Because they're not going to write each other or phone each other.
No way.
I thought you should know the Colonel got caught. Have a nice day. There's nothing
what a nice guy.
Why can't they do anything? I love how the military can go in there and go into the border, but if they get caught, there's nothing they can do. Oh, I'm sorry. Sucks to be you. And I'm still confused who Trautmann was with. Was he with Americans looking like Afghans or both? I
don't know. We don't know. We'll never know.
I can't believe how badly this mission is laid out in this film. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's hard to watch now when you're an adult. I mean, when you're a kid, and when I was a kid, I didn't think anything of it, you know?
Yeah, it was like they were doing a mission, they got caught. That's all there is to it. Rab was like, what happened? He just said, we have no idea what this mission should... They didn't have any plan whatsoever. It's amazing they're not all dead, really.
What about me?
How about you?
Can you get me in?
You're not serious.
Oh, yeah, I'm serious.
Serious like a heart attack.
It can't be done officially.
Make it unofficial.
If it can be done, I want you to know up front that if you're captured, or if any of this leaks, we'll deny any participation or even knowledge of your existence.
I'm used to it.
There it is.
We'll get back.
I'll get back. I have to officially make this unofficial. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I got to make a few calls.
Can you get me in? What I think is hilarious is, why is he asking for permission? Hey, Rambo, you want to do what Trautmann did? Just go follow the road and just start there. I'm going to keep note of this. What is it the American government actually really does for him to get him in there? I can't remember now.
I think they just transport him and they get him in contact with that guy. I forgot his name.
Yeah, the light turns blue guy.
Yeah, that guy. That's him.
Yeah. Gets him to the border, saying, "Here's your here's your mail co."
Yeah, your mail co, and here's a bunch of weapons, and like I guess they threw him a few bucks to get all that equipment, all the claymores and stuff, all the blue lights.
He spins the wheel here. I think, yeah.
Full circle.
Full circle. Well, oh man, Dan, you were going to be back on again. I'm telling you right now, you have been a breath of fresh air. You're great insight. I think you're right.
Good. I'm glad,
circle.
Man.
I think you're absolutely right about that full circle. That is so funny. All right. Well, we're going to end the episode there because the next scene is the Peshawar, Pakistan, near the Afghan border. So I think we're now going to get to the point where, he's going to be where Trauman was, I guess, at some point. I don't know. But let us know in an email or something, folks. What was that mission supposed to happen? Like, what was the end goal?
Yep.
Had the mission been successful, what was supposed to happen?
That's a good question, yeah.
With the men they had and the location they were in, because they were driving somewhere and they stopped and then the helicopter came. That's all I know. Anyways, all right.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dan, that was a fantastic second episode of Rambo 3. It's fun because as much as maligned as Rambo 3 is, boy, it's fun to talk about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a good movie. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not the best Rambo movie, but it's a great movie.
Sure. Well, that's the thing. I think people, even Rambo 5, when we get to Last Blood, look, I remember watching, I saw it in the theaters, of course, and I just said to myself, I'm watching Stallone play Rambo on the big screen. Like, oh, come on, whatever. Sure. It's not First Blood. It's not even Part 2, but it's Sly saying, I'm Rambo, and I'm going to hurt people, and it's on the big screen. I know it sounds silly, but at the end of the day, that's about as much you could hope. He's a legacy band, right? That's what I mean. We're talking about the legacy. He's a legacy band. He's just playing his greatest hits. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, Rambo 5, it's just, he did such a good job with Rambo, with Rocky Balboa and Creed and Creed 2. Rambo 5, I just...
Long hair. It's the long hair. You know what someone needs to do? Someone needs to CGI, like those deep fake videos, CGI long hair.
Yeah.
Oh man, if I was good at editing,
somebody's got to do it.
Someone's, even just for like the trailer, give him long hair. All right. So before we go, why don't you just plug again your show where people can find you and your socials or anything like that?
I just have a YouTube channel called RetroSpectors, and I just play retro video games and mostly Sega stuff and online Sega. And that's pretty much it. And actually, before I go, I want to show...
That's right. I almost forgot. Thank you.
I just want to show this. This is a picture. Oh, I don't know if the lighting, you can see it.
I was wondering, it didn't look like...
We went to Universal Studios when I was like 12 years old, and they had like this thing where like a camera and like you could pick which movie star you wanted to be photoshopped in. And I saw one for Rambo 3, and I was like, I want to be Rambo.
So for our listeners on iTunes and what have you, Dan's face at a young boy's face is on. You know who you kind of look like at that? Who's that guy? Michael Cena. You look like a Michael Cena on Rambo.
Oh, yeah, body. It looks really weird.
There you go. Go up there.
Because that's a 12-year-old boy right there. Yeah.
That is fantastic. That is great. That is great. That is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Good for you. Where was that again? Yep. Universal Studios?
Universal Studios, 2004 around.
That's funny. Early days of Photoshop,
Yeah, they did a pretty good job for such early days. Yeah. I'm a big fan of yours, man. I mean, I love that you're doing podcasts on Rocky and Rambo. And actually, I discovered Tulsa King because you uploaded YouTube videos. I actually didn't know that was a thing. I didn't even know Tulsa King was going on.
What?
So... Yeah, I guess I've been living under a rock, but
are you watching the show?
Yeah. I got a subscription to Paramount Plus, and
see, Sly should give me some kickback on this. So yeah, I got one more.
Yeah, you should get some commission because I'm watching Tulsa King now because you should let me to be aware of its existence.
Man, Dan, if I could just get 1,000 more Dans, I might be a successful YouTube and podcast. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's a fun show. It's fantastic. And speaking of Tulsa King, yes, if you join my Patreon, you can watch all the unedited full episodes of Tulsa King. I have been putting them on my YouTube channel, but they don't always clear. Just for fun, after a while, I've been trying to put them on. The first 2 got cleared right away, and I think Paramount Plus was like caught on, and the last couple haven't. So they are available on my Patreon for as low as $1 a month. You help pay for the not you, Dan, but my listeners will help pay for the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network feed that I host with all the other podcasts that join forces with. You get to watch Tulsa King with me. You get to see me though, but then I don't really talk too much over the show. I give my thoughts at the end of the show, and it's been a fun journey. All right, so Dan, it's been truly, actually, unlike some other guest hosts, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure truly having you on. You are going to come back. I'm going to get you back on again, but for now, the episode's over.
Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.